businesswoman, very driven. She was always connected in Peru with other very successful, driven businesswomen over there. And then when we moved to the United States, she didn't speak English, you know, like she knew some English, but she didn't speak it really well. But that she didn't let that stop her. You know, she was a very smart individual, very business savvy, and she found a way. She learned very well. She connected herself, and she actually did very, very well here. So just watching her grow and watching her tackle, like, you know, but we all know we have to tackle when we move to a different country. You know, you come from a different background, you know people, you have connections, and then you come to a new place and you have to rebuild that. And it takes a lot of work and consistency and just like drive really to want to succeed and be an example, not only for your children, but for your entire community. I really admire that of her. So yeah, I would have to say her.
That is awesome. Hazel.
Well, to keep with the theme, also my parents, they worked really hard. I, as everyone was talking, I didn't mention my background. Like, I'm from Los Angeles and I moved to Arkansas when I was young enough to adapt, but also old enough to know that I wasn't in Los Angeles anymore. And I moved to a very small town in Arkansas, Mina, which is about 80 miles outside of Fort Smith. But my parents are from Mexico and immigrated to the United States when they were young. And I always think they always worked really hard. And I think they made a lot of sacrifices for us for a better life. And I always think about those two migrations from Mexico to the United States and the migration from California to Arkansas. And I think the migration from California to Arkansas was probably harder on them, just because, you know, in Mexico, you know, going to LA, you were surrounded by your peers and you had a community there. And the town that I grew up in wasn't very diverse. And it was known for being a closed-minded town, but my dad got a job there and it was a sure thing, and they were giving their kids an opportunity. So I really admired that they instilled a work ethic in us and just made those sacrifices for us to give us opportunities that we probably wouldn't have had in Los Angeles.
I learned something new about you, Hazel, tonight, being from LA. Jimmy, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. My parents were very instrumental for me to get, you know, my interest in this career and just to kind of strive, you know, for high goals to begin with. I was a first generation college graduate in my family, which was huge. And they always, you know, from a very young age, as long as I can remember, they were always pushing me like, hey, school is important. I was a student athlete as well, but they're like, hey, academics come first. This is something that's going to take you, you know, farther than you could ever imagine. So they really, from day one, when I was young, they really pushed me to just to be great and just to be, you know, do it the right way, be a good person, a good teammate, all those kind of things. So they were instrumental in, you know, for where I'm at now. I have my other mentor, I guess, besides my parents is, I had a mentor in El Paso, Texas. I worked there after I graduated college. I worked with the Padres AAA team down there, and my mentor there, she basically kind of took me under her wing. Her name's Angela Olivas, and she's a Latina from El Paso, and she just kind of took me under her wing, like, hey, I'm passionate about sports. There's a place for us to really make a difference and to kind of do some fun things and creative things. And she really kind of jump started me to kind of take that next step and say, hey, I want to be in the sports marketing world, and I want to make a difference for the communities that I'm in. And so those three people had a really, really big impact on me as far as a career and life-wise.
Thank you for sharing, and Anna.
On my end, where to begin? I had a number of role models growing up. My aspiration to go into broadcast journalism came from my sincere admiration of Maria Elena Salinas, a Univision journalist and anchor, just admiring the storytelling and the storytelling, more importantly, humanizing our community. Whereas other media outlets would again dehumanize the perspective of our Latinx community. On the social justice front, Dolores Huerta was one of my role models and heroes. She rose still today, and I had the opportunity to meet her, and she taught me that in every movement, women are present, even though we're not getting the credit. We're part of the engine that's keeping things going. And then community-centered, I was blessed to have empowered women in this community. One of them is Margarita Sorlozano with Hispanic Women's Organization. And as a first generation, also college student, she taught me that despite the crushing reality of my immigration status at the time, that I should just shoot for the stars. And it was because of her that I opened doors to do congressional internship and just, open the doors that have led me to the career that I am today. So I am sincerely grateful for this community that surrounds us.
Those are all great. Thank you all for sharing that. This is more of an open forum at this time for our panelists. And going from what Anna said about shooting for the stars, the time that we're in right now is very unique. A lot of people say this is a new normal and adjusting to that. But, during this time, we've seen a lot of people who have had hardships in their careers, who have been furloughed, who are having hard times finding jobs. I want to talk a little bit about what practical or professional advice for someone that's looking for a job or getting ready to graduate or even in their undergrad right now. What advice would you give to them about the future and where they're going? So this is more of an open opportunity to discuss, but really to our students that are listening, and some may be grad students, some may be wanting to go to graduate school or getting their careers. Let's talk to them a little bit about what experience and advice you would have for them.
I can start. I think my big thing would be leverage your network in absolutely every sense. And I mean, even the person that you feel won't know a contact or that you feel won't maybe respond or what have you, reach out. You never know who someone may or may not know. And I would also say in that same kind of networking lens, be proactive about reaching out and trying to be involved, whether it's in the community, whether it's in your school, whether it's or an organization at your job, whatever it may be. Always try to build that network and drive true connection so that you can start building that path as you prepare to graduate, either from undergrad or master's or whatever that may be.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Gabi. Building a network is very important. Reach out to the community. We all have unique skills that we can bring to any nonprofit out there, to any type of cause in our community. Reach out, share your skills, connect with people. Tell them who you are, where you're coming from, what you have to bring to the table. We're all unique. We all have different experiences and backgrounds, and leverage that. We all have that for ourselves, like we have something new to offer in many cases. So just share that out with as many people as you can. Create that connectivity, stay connected, and like you said, Elvis, right now it is a different type of, atmosphere. It is a different market, but it doesn't have to be like this for you to start getting connected. Every time, think about, who are the people in the community that you want to reach out to? What are the causes that you want to support? Stay connected, share your knowledge, again, your culture. We always ask for people to be inclusive, but we have to be inclusive and share out as well. So I think that having that in mind, always reach out, and always get connected. So I would say that that is like a really good step to take when you are in school, when you're out of school, when you're working, just at every time.
And I think along with that, within your network, and as you're building, you know, those things, don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid of your talent. Because I know that sometimes you may think, oh, well, I just graduated college, you know, like they're not going to want to hire me. It never hurts to ask, or it never hurts to ask your network those questions, because the worst thing that they could say is no. And that's not ending. There's another opportunity out there. So never be afraid to reach out to your network, or don't ever sell yourself short thinking that, well, I just graduated college, or you know, I'm new to this, because you have talents and you learned a lot in school. So you have skills that people would appreciate.
Yeah, I'll go along with that too. I think.
What I would love to add.
Oops. Sorry. Go ahead, Anna. What I was going to add to that is just, yeah, the more opportunity you have to put yourself out there into, you know, all the hard work that you've done up to this point in, you know, in your career or in college or whatnot, just, yeah, continue to put yourself out there and reach out, put your name out there. Like Hazel said, the worst thing they could say is no. And I mean, all of us on this panel, you know, even more, we've all been told no so many times, but we didn't let that stop us, or don't let that stop you. You know, just continue to use that as part of the process, learn from it, realize, oh, that interview went really well. I didn't get the job, but I took A, B, and C away from that. And I know going into the next one, I'm going to be even more confident. So don't let, you know, getting turned down be no. All of us have been turned down, will be turned down again, but that doesn't take anything away from what you've done. So I would say my biggest piece of advice is, yeah, just trust in your talents that you do have. Because like we've all said, you've worked hard, we've all worked hard and continue to, but just stay hungry and continue to do that.
Absolutely. I echo what Jimmy said and what other panelists have said. My big advice, though, would be that as you put yourself forward, don't underestimate the power of an informal interview. As you leverage your network, as you connect with individuals, invite them for a cafecito, and just get to know them. How did you get to where you are? What skill set do you think is of utmost importance for a person to succeed in this career? So have a conversation, have a one-on-one with individuals. Honestly, you never know the door that they may open, or they'll think of you as new opportunities come through their desk. In addition, to growing your network, I would encourage you all to participate in organizations locally or nationally. There's a local organization here in Northwest Arkansas called the Hispanic Leadership Council. It's got a mentorship program, and it's got professionals from across industries that could help support your job search.
To kind of add on to that, you know, I will say something that for me has been, you know, starting out when I was in college, helped me out a lot, was kind of embracing that change. I'm naturally introverted. And, you know, when you first meet me, I'm just kind of quiet. I'm observing people, just kind of trying to get a feel for people. And once you get to know me, you find out I'm pretty extroverted, you know, if I get comfortable with you. But, you know, don't be afraid to, you know, go out there and put yourself in these organizations and, you know, just reach out. I mean, for me, my first year I lived on campus. I really didn't do anything on campus. And ironically, I started getting more involved campus as I commuted back and forth, because I had these long gaps. And I kind of just used that. You know, I would read books, and through reading books in the MC Center, for me, I started meeting more and more people, and that opened doors. Oh, this person knows this person, and I started meeting more and more people. So, you know, just kind of embrace that change. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone, because, you know, in your circle, it might be good, but stepping out of that comfort zone, there might be great. So, you know, just embrace that we're in a fast paced, you know, rapid changing society. You know, today's cashier might be tomorrow's CEO. So make those connections. Don't be afraid to, you know, meet new people and kind of put yourself out there. If you know your value, you know, go get your worth. You know, don't be afraid to put it out on the table and like everyone else said, the worst they can say is no, and another, one door closes, another one opens, three more open, and it's not the end of the world. At the end of the day, your career is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So, one job here might be a stepping stone into, getting to where you really want to be. So I'd say just embrace change and step out of your comfort zone.
All right. One thing I wanted to step off of that and to continue to move along as it relates to your current career. We all have had someone who's given us a piece stuck take with us in our careers. And again, I want to start off with asking the panel, what is the best advice you've been given and how?
I think you're breaking up, unless it's just me.
No, you froze a little bit.
Let me try this again. Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll go to what has been the best advice that you have received from someone and how has that helped you in your career?
I'll start. I had a professor, I had a lot of great mentors in college, and I had a professor who told me, as I was getting ready to do my internship and graduate and look for a job, he told me to really look at my values and try to find a company that mirror those values, because, he was very early on, he told me, the idea of love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. He's like, that's not true. He's like, some days you have crappy days in a job that you love. He's like, but what will get you through is knowing that you're working with an organization that has a mission that aligns with your values. And so that's something that I've really carried with me whenever I've looked at changed careers and things like that.
I can go next. So I got this advice from one of my early, like first almost managers, and it really like resonated with me. He said, always think about three things when in your career, which is the first one, be a lifelong learner, right? Like it's always be hungry for learning and growing your skills. Like we all are professionals in our career. We have a lot of value to bring to the table. But the truth is that, those skills are maybe good for 3-4 years. We need to like grow in our careers, bring innovation, bring something new. So we always have to improve ourselves and be hungry for that. Always learn new skills, to know something else and enroll something or follow a blog or anything that makes your career better. Also, find your advocates. Find people that know you, know your value, know who you are. They're willing to give you some tough advice, but also elevate you. And find those people, and those people that you should admire, people that you want to be like. And find those group of people that you can always rely on. And the last one would be like, know your worth. He said, know what you bring every time to that meeting, to that, like just new pitch, who you are and what you bring to the table, and keep it. And he actually said, and I do it, he's like, create a folder that says my successes, because we are so caught into day to day and everything is stressful and things happen so fast that we forget what we do. Create that one folder in your computer that says, this is what I did, and then just file it in there and then look at it. It's not only just to look at yourself and say, oh, I did something good, but also to plan for the future. I've accomplished this, I did this, what is next? What can I do to improve and grow and bring more value to where I work, to my family, to my friends, to my network, to the community that I help? So just having those three things like really changed the way I approach business and my professional career. So I would say that was the best advice I got.
Jessica, I call that my smile folder. It's so great. And I couldn't agree more. That is such a powerful advice. at times we can lose the momentum because we have very tough days, to Hazel's point and to your point. And so this serves as a reflection of all the great things that you're doing and that you've done. So I echo that. The advice I received from one of my mentors that has stayed with me, and I still apply it till today, is to stand proud and take up the room, take up my own space in the room. And I'll explain. For my Latinas participating in the panel tonight, at times our voices will be disregarded. At times we'll have a male colleague with the same idea, and unfortunately we see those biases. So don't be afraid to speak up, take up the room that you need, be at the table and have those difficult conversations, because of, you know, the advice that you've heard tonight is, you know your worth, you know your skill set, so just bring it forward and humble brag. Talk about the things that you're doing, how you're contributing to improving the project, the company, or what you've done for an organization.
Hey guys, I can go next. My favorite piece of advice has been confidence over competence. And it kind of ties to a little bit to Anna's point of, especially me, I mean, I'm what a lot of people in business would consider young, a Latina, and a minority. And I've worked or work for companies that a majority of the people in the room are gonna look very similar to one another, but they're not gonna look anything like you. And you have to go in, whether it's in a meeting, whether it's giving a presentation, or even just sending out an email, you have to be confident in yourself and in knowing that you have expertise, you have knowledge. And that's not to say that you're always gonna be right. That's not to say that you're always gonna know everything, but I do feel that it's been important in business to have that confidence to even just ask a question or push back, or even just speak up, and to Anna's point, be visible. So that's the one that's really stuck with me, is just confidence over competence.
That's some good nuggets there, Gabi. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
I can go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
Armando.
Sorry.
You're good.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just kind of wanted to touch back on that whole, your career is a marathon, not a sprint. Because that's probably the best advice I've received so far. When I joined Pepsi, I was under the expectation, or, they kind of set out expectations like, your first year, you're going to train, you're going to do this, this, and that, and then we're going to move you into this role. And, they want you to be, at least in my company, they want you to, they want to move you wherever they want to move you. And at the end of the day, don't be afraid to stand your ground. If you don't want to move somewhere where they want to move you, realize that you're an asset to the company. If you know your value, if you're creating value for that company, you're an asset. The ball is in your court. So I did not move into an SDL role, which would be the next role. I moved into what you call a merch lead, which is kind of the role in between that, because I wanted to stay here in Fort Smith and I wanted to grow with my team. I really like the people I work with. And I said, I appreciate the offer. Let me show you what I can do in this role. And then, 2-3 years down the road, let's talk about, moving into that SDL role. But at the end of the day, you might have a few different jobs along the way, but, realize that your career is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You don't have to chase that raise immediately if you're not ready for it. If you're not ready for that next role, stay back and learn more. There's going to be more opportunities that come up. So, don't be afraid to take that time to really become great at what you do. Because to me, my biggest fear is, I can move into this role and I could figure it out and I'll probably be good, but I want to be great. I want to create as much value as I can for this company and, for my team. So, recognize that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So take your time. If you know your value, your worth, you're an asset to the company, and don't be afraid to stand your ground, because you guys, you're educated, you're hungry, and the opportunities are out there.
Yeah, that's perfectly goes into what I would say too. I would say my biggest piece of advice and what I kind of go by is, hey, just stay true to yourself. So I always try to do everything kind of exactly what Armando said, like, hey, where do I feel like I fit best and can provide the most value, like Armando said, to the team, to my family, to, you know, my peers, everything like that. So, you know, all of us have the opportunity, hey, you know, you can take this job in this place for more money, more titles and things like that. But sometimes you need to take a step back and think, okay, how does this benefit me in the long run? And is this something that I'm always going to be chasing titles or chasing money, or do I truly want to make a difference where I'm at in my community for, you know, my peers that I enjoy working with, you know, our fans, our campus community, things like that. And I think that's my biggest thing that I've learned is, you know, if you stay true to yourself, you're going to continue to do things at a high level and at a level where you're comfortable with. You know, you don't ever want to put yourself in a situation where, hey, I'm not really confident of, you know, I don't really agree with what they do, but they're going to pay me a lot of money and give me a great title, but I don't agree with what they do or what positions they're putting me in. That's just, to me, that's just something that, you know, in the long run, it's just not going to be beneficial for you or for others, because you're not going to be passionate about it. You're not going to have it within your heart. And if you don't have that and you don't stay true to yourself, then I feel like that's where you start getting, you know, overly stressed or overly worked or just not in a good place. And, you know, there's a lot of worth in being happy with where you are, because you can just do so much more for so many different people if you're passionate about something and love what you do.
All right, this is going to be a quick segment here. So we all have our ways of time management at work, and we all got a lot going on, and things have been so different lately at work. Just want to ask you really quickly, what are the quick ways that you try to time manage at work? What are some of the tools you use, or what do you find easy to help you manage your time during the day and project coordination? We'll start with Hazel.
Okay, you're breaking up a little bit with a little bit of static. So I just want to make sure I heard the question right. What do you do to stay organized, kind of, essentially?
Yep, stay organized at work.
Okay, I'm going to show you this right here. This notebook is how I stay organized, and my calendar, honestly. I mean, that's very literal, but those are the two things that keep me online and keep me on track, and I know how to manage my time based on those things. So that's what I use.
Anna, what about you?
Similar. It's I'm old-fashioned. I have to make lists, and I love checking a box. There's something so fulfilling about it. Of course, the calendar, keeping that up to date, but also enjoyed using other tools like OneNote to keep things organized. If you're taking notes, meeting notes, it's a great historical record. And Smartsheet, I'm not sure if folks are familiar, but it's a great way to work across teams and just pull reports about projects and kind of figure out based on a Gantt chart where projects are going along. And forgive me, I chuckle because I felt like for a moment the panel was being quiet with Latinos and time management, since we're late to almost everything. So I was just laughing.
You are definitely about that. Go ahead, Gabi.
I can go next. What I love to do is just really make my tasks a little bit more snackable, break them down. Whether typically I like to think, what do I have to accomplish today? And to Anna's point, I literally just write it out and have a little check box and when I'm done. But also, what do I have to accomplish this week by the end of Friday? And just essentially look at it like that. Break it up to pieces that won't make it overwhelming, to where you don't have this big long list of, oh man, I have to get all this done. It's okay, what has to be done today? What has to be done this week? What has to be done this month? What has to be done this quarter? And it's a little bit less overwhelming and just easier to digest.
I can go ahead and go next. So one of the tools that I use is I have a journal, and it's called the Power List. And so what it is I have 5 critical tasks, and these are the 5 tasks that if I accomplish them a day, then I've won the day. And to me, that's just like, it's gratifying. Same deal, you check the box, you cross it off, and you know, like, these are the big things, like this is, you know, the chunk of it. The rest of the stuff is kind of little, you know, little things throughout the day. So if you just kind of break your day up and you go on a day-to-day basis, and you put 5 things that, like, if I for sure get these 5 things done, then I've won the day. And you start, you know, you kind of build that momentum, like, I won this day, I won the next day, I've won a week, I've won a month, I've won the whole year, and just kind of build those wins and just, you know, keep that momentum going. Then, you know, I feel like you become unstoppable, and you're not overwhelming yourself, because, you know, to her point, you know, you can create a list and have 30 things on there, but, you know, how many of those are actually worth it, you know? So try to automate as much of the little stuff as you can, and focus on the big stuff, and don't overwhelm yourself, because you're not going to be able to knock every single thing that you want to do in a day. You just got to kind of take it little by little, prioritize, and that's how I do it, is that power list.
I can go next. So I actually have 3 lists that I work around. So I work on a long-term list, a personal list, and a must-meet deadline type list. So every day, the first thing I do every morning is look at that list, because there are big projects, at least in my line of work, that require strategic thinking over time, that necessarily, maybe they're not due today, and maybe they're due in 2 or 3 months, but I still need to do something now in order to meet that and deliver, right? But there's also other things that are immediate needs. So every morning I said, okay, what's immediate? But I also try to make time for myself. You know, that's something that it took me a long time to do. You know, like maybe sneak in like a workout during the day, a walk, maybe, you know, a lunch with my daughter, right? So just like go to lunch with, you know, like with friends or anything. But I think that just creating that balance for me has been actually something very productive, and to see things from different lenses. Because again, we actually could be caught up, like I said earlier, on the day-to-day and everything that is needed right now. And then you forget about the bigger picture and what you are trying to accomplish over time. So just trying to make sure that we have those lists in place. And they could be mental lists, they could be on a journal, they can be on, you know, Outlook, they could be on OneNote. I mean, I honestly use all of those, you know, all together. But just trying to make sure that we know like where everything needs to go, and always making time for ourselves. I mean, that's something that is important to me. And I think that's how I keep my sanity as well, you know? So that's how I try to keep the balance and organized.
Yeah, and mine is actually very similar to Jessica's. I have a kind of a I kind of differentiate out by, you know, different sports that we're working on, or different campaigns or initiatives that we're working on. I have a personal list as well, and then a long-term, like Jessica said, if I need to do something, I don't need to get it done today, but I need to, you know, work towards that end goal, whatever that project or campaign is. So yeah, being able to just kind of diversify and have, you know, different categories, and that helps me keep things organized. Obviously, I write those things down. I'm a big, you know, notebook person as well. I also use randomly kind of Google Sheets, Excel docs. I use those religiously for all of our different campaigns that we have going on, or different things, just so we can keep our team in the know on, you know, advertising, or, you know, different plans we have for events or things like that. So I think a lot of those things kind of contribute, and everybody, you know, people make fun of me because I'm so religious about those things, but I think I would go insane without having those. So being able to have something to fall back on, and to say, hey, I know I forgot about this, but I have it written down. I need to get this done. So being able to have that to fall back on is huge for me to keep things rolling forward.
So with the specific times we're living in right now, and lots of things going on surrounding social injustices, social justice, as well as things that are going on with our national anthems, as well as current events surrounding all the different pieces of social injustices. I want to hear from you what you feel is the most challenging right now being a young Latinx professional during these times. What do you find to be challenging or rewarding of being a Latinx young professional at this time? So just kind of give you an opportunity to think about that. But again, in the times that we're living in, what do you find most rewarding or most challenging about being a Latinx young professional?
I'm happy to start, and I'll start with the challenging and then with the positive. I think the most challenging thing of all of this right now is the emotional labor that goes to that we're all going through, because I feel like sometimes because I'm a Latina, I am a resource for other people to ask, like ask me questions, or, just that emotional labor of, well, how do people do this and how do people do that? And so I think that's been one of the most challenging things, is just people thinking I'm a resource for that. I know, that I speak for all Latin experiences. And I think everyone on this panel knows that we all, even though we may come from similar backgrounds, we all have very different experiences. And so it's very challenging to get those questions and just be like, oh, I could tell you about my experience. That's not a holistic experience of the Latinx community. But I think the most rewarding part, and this is gonna sound weird, like I've never been more proud to be a Latina. Like, I'm just gonna say it, like the hatred that's coming from the national leadership, like it's really made me so proud to be a Latina. Like, yeah, send all your hate this way, but we are a strong community and we are gonna join together, and we are a strong voice. And so I find that gives me hope. Like when I see all these people everyone's being engaged, and then being proud of who they are, it has been really rewarding.
I can go next. To me, it's almost, and I'll kind of start similarly to Hazel. The challenging part for me,
and I had to get the snaps.
Oh, she wants somebody else to go ahead and go?
Okay, no, I'm happy to jump in. Sorry, my connection was disrupted. I'm like just echoing Hazel. I agree. I think one of the most challenging portions of being Latina, Latinx, Hispanic during this time is that emotional labor, that no matter the role that you're playing in your organization, whether it's colleagues, sincerely striving to understand an issue, you're at times being tasked to be the knowledge carrier and the educator. And that's my big challenge and concern. The opportunity that I see for me is being a voice at the table and frankly, challenging the systems of oppression. I work in a field of arts and philanthropy. And let me tell you, I love what Crystal Bridges is doing to dismantle the systems that have kept people out of a place that is meant to be a cultural hub, a cultural institution that is welcoming all. So that to me is the most exciting component. I'm proud to be a Latina. I'm proud to wear my heritage. And while no human being is perfect, we have all made mistakes. It just reminds us that during these difficult times, the thing that we need the most is empathy, to understand and try to walk in each other's shoes, because there's different communities struggling. We have rural, poor individuals who are white, they're struggling. We have the struggles for our African-American brothers and sisters, as well as our Latinx. So that is my kind of big takeaway, is feeling empowered to carry a voice forward.
I can go next.
Go ahead, Gabi. You were interrupted earlier. Go for it.
It's fine. I think she was frozen.
By technology.
I know. It's weird. Okay, well, I'll go quickly. I was just going to mention that for me, it's almost been a little bit of the like opposite of what Hazel was mentioning. I feel like I work in an environment where there weren't any discussions, there weren't really many questions asked, and I'm sure I would have felt some type of way if everyone was also similar to them. But it's been hard to just stay engaged with everything going on, and those around me just keep on moving like they're a machine, and they just don't see or experience or notice or listen to or share what I view. And it's been a little bit tough, and just sense of, it feels like my worldview is just completely different from anyone and everyone that I work with. And it's difficult to relate, and it's difficult to stay engaged. That said, I think one positive coming out of it is I do feel that everything going on has applied pressure from a larger corporate standpoint. And they're actually starting to launch more multicultural associate resource groups. And I'm excited and lucky to also be involved in one of the leadership for the Hispanic and Latino resource group. So I think it's going to really at least open the doors for education, for training, for learning in this space, and hopefully move the needle come 2-3 years from now.
I would agree with Gabi. And honestly, I actually see it from a different point of view as well. You know, like, so it's all, I agree with all of you, but I am excited about what's happening right now. And I am excited about the changes that are happening, the conversations that are taking place, you know, how much our leadership and on all of the places that we work at, they're actually paying attention, and they're looking at internally of what is happening, what the dynamics are, and they are actually trying to do something about it. And that is an exciting part, an exciting time of our lives. You know, like this didn't happen last year. That was not the year before. Right now, this is something that is taking place, and we are all being part of that. And that makes me really happy for me, for my kids, for my friends kids, that this is what we're doing at this time. And we, like Gabi, you're part of the resource group, so am I. And isn't it exciting that we're able to make a difference, to influence, to actually have a voice and express, like you said, you know, we have different opinions and honestly different backgrounds. And because of that, we are valuable. We actually can bring those ideas and those thoughts and that background and that context in our culture and influence change. You know, so I feel very excited about it. I agree that it is a little stressful because we do not have all the answers, you know? And so like Anna said, like sometimes we're, you know, looked at as like, okay, what is your opinion? What should we do? And I said, I mean, this is what I think, but I don't know if it's 100% accurate. This is my point of view. And honestly, we are Latinos, but we all have different backgrounds. Our families came from different places. We all have different history. We even like different food, you know, like, I mean, and that's something that we're all different, but also united, right? So I am very optimistic, and I'm very excited to be part of this change that is happening right now in the world. And so I think that it's a great opportunity for us for our voices to be heard and actually have that seat at the table.
Yeah, and to go off that, I think the biggest, from my side, candidly, the hardest thing is, not having the answers or not knowing exactly what to do. It's just like, you know, you want to be able to do so much, and you try as much as you can, but sometimes you don't have the answers, and you're like, I want to do everything I can to, you know, help stop these things as well, and to be a part of the change. And it's just like, hey, I want to do this, this, and this, and I'm doing this, this, and that, but is it enough? You know, sometimes you don't feel like, hey, what more can I do? Because sometimes it just doesn't feel like enough, because there is so much, you know, negativity out there, and you just want to bring as much positivity as you can and make a difference as much as you can. But like we said, it's not gonna be us as individuals. It's gonna be us as groups. So I think what you guys mentioned, having, you know, you being a part of those groups on, you know, your various work campuses, we have things similar here too. It's just, you know, the more that we can get involved in those things, the better. And that's what I'm tasking myself to do, is like, hey, you know, I've been able to, you know, donate to some things. I've been able to, you know, vote in some things. Obviously, you know, voting in the upcoming elections, gigantic. but even other initiatives and just being a part of those, whether it's, different petitions or different, movements to be a part of that, help people of minorities kind of crash this systemic racism and oppression, all those type of things, is something that I'm continually looking, hey, what can I do more and how can I get others involved in that? And I think that's my biggest thing, is trying to get more involved and making more of a difference. But I think Hazel said it too. I agree. But I am more proud than I've ever been of being a minority and being a Latino as well. And it's just something, especially in our area, where I think we're just all, being able to bond together, and not only in the area, but in the country, and just kind of, make a difference as a group, which I think we're seeing a lot of positive change just across the country. And hopefully that continues to, we can continue to move the needle in a positive way.
Yeah, I completely agree with what everyone has said. The challenge is always being that go-to person. I mean, I'm the only Latino manager, and I'm the youngest manager at Pepsi in our location. And I mean, anytime there's something going on that's, whether it be political or, just I'm kind of the go-to person, and I don't always have the answers, and obviously can be very mentally draining. But I will say that I'm very fortunate to have, a support group, and we're very diverse there at Pepsi. We have a group called Adelante, which is our, Latinx group, where we do facilitate those discussions, and it's nationwide. So you get exposed to a lot of people from different areas of the country. So it is very exciting as well to see, what even big corporations are doing to help, start that change, and the platform they're giving us to, share our experiences, and, like you said, move the needle as, as a group, and try to do better for each other.
Thank you for sharing that. This question is for Jessica, working at Hershey's. Do you have an unlimited supply of Hershey's Kisses in the office?
Yes, I do. I mean, was that the question? That was easy.
And same with Armando. How many Pepsis do you have a day?
Oh, that's why I hadn't put on the freshman 15 when I was in college, because I walked up those hills every day. But I'm telling you, ever since I've joined Pepsi, and it's not just Pepsi. I mean, we've got Mountain Dew. We just bought out Rockstar. We have Starbucks. We have Gatorade. We just started distributing Bang. So my cooler is always stocked up with all the things I probably shouldn't put in my body, but I drink it anyways. It's just right there. But I will say that I'm very happy that we're starting to roll out, more healthy options. So like our unsweetened teas, our, Life Water, our Aquafina. But yeah, I've got pretty much an unlimited supply of any beverage in my cooler, and I get samples before they release. So I've got we're launching a new Mountain Dew energy drink, so that's in the cooler. So there's some cool perks that come with it.
So right now, we want to give the students that are on, or staff, an opportunity to ask any questions of our panelists. We'll give you a couple of minutes for that. We've got some great synergy going on in here, and great stories, and love hearing about the different pieces of advice that you've been given, and your mentors and those who have helped you. So we'll give our students the opportunity. Are there any questions from our students that are joining us, or staff, for any of our panelists? All right, I think I see Miss Cecilia getting ready to ask a question. Cecilia?
What a way to calling me out, right? Oh my gosh. It's a pleasure to hear everyone. I know most of you. I'm so proud of each one of you. I know Anna since college. I still remember seeing her around campus, and when she graduated, I was really excited and happy of her endeavors. And the same thing with my friend Jessica. I'm so proud of all of you. You are a great example for our students in general, not just the Latino students, any student. And I've been taking notes. I don't know which camera, like about all your quotes. I'm planning on quoting you on everything that I do from now on. Hazel, I know you remember me.
It's been so long. You were one, like, Cecilia was one of the first people I met when I moved to Fayetteville. Yeah, and we worked on a conference together. Yeah, so good to see you.
Yes, when I saw your name, I was pretty excited. Thank you, everyone. On your first and on your last year in college, what was the biggest challenge that you have? I have several students there in the last stretch, and they're having senioritis at this point, and I'm trying to text them, are you done with your homework? Because that's what they told me to do. Sometimes they believe I'm their second mother. I love to take into second mother, how do you say, time or whatever. But what would be a great advice that you can get to the seniors? Anybody? Hazel, you go.
Stay in school. No, I'm kidding. I think, oh man, I'm trying to think back when I was a senior in college. I think don't be anxious, because I feel like a lot of seniors, a lot of my peers and myself included, I feel like we had a lot of anxiety and felt like we needed to have everything figured out by graduation day and needed to know, like, what's the first step in our career. And I think it's okay to not know. Like, you have your degree. You're not going to start out being a CEO. There's going to be a learning curve, you're not going to know everything right away, but that's okay. That's okay. And so to me, I would say, don't let that anxiety get to you. Like, everything, I think it was Armando who said, it's a marathon, not a sprint, so have that mentality of, keep your network, and you don't have to have all those answers figured out by May 12th or whatever, graduation, when you walk, graduation day, whatever. Yeah.
Thank you. Who's next? Anita.
Hi, Ceci. Well, I would just say stay the course. I mean, you've worked so hard for the last 3 years. You're almost there. Stay the course. I know senioritis is real and it hits us pretty hard. I do remember being a senior and, being a little bit exhausted from multiple back-to-back exams. You just got to power through. And to Hazel's point, understand that you have to give yourself some grace. You may not have the internship that you desire, and that's okay. Create your plan of action and know that you're going to be executing it step by step, little by little. If you don't land your dream job right off the bat, that's all right. Try to do other things that can give you or build your experience. So, and lastly, just enjoy. I really love the cohort that I was able to build throughout my undergraduate and also my graduate experience. I got my MBA with Gabi, and it was wonderful to have someone by your side, cheering you on. So I'm forever grateful for that. So enjoy the people around you. Enjoy lunch, dinner, cafecitos, whatever you can with them while you can.
Gabi, I see you.
I know.
You want to talk.
Cecilia, you might not like my answer though. No, but I think for me, I would say savor it. Honestly, life comes at you quick, and as sluggish as you may feel that last year, it's also going to be your last moments of experiencing this just level of minimum to no responsibility, level of just getting away with a lot of things, level of being able to make mistakes, to maybe not try as hard, sorry, Cecilia, and still be successful. Like, just savor it, enjoy it. And I think like Hazel said también, like, don't get anxious, don't stress out. It's not the end of the world. You're still uber young. You still have so much time to, pardon my French, but get your shit together. But just savor it, like enjoy it.
Great, Armando.
Oh.
Oh, sorry, Elvis.
Well, no, I was going to say to Gabi, I was going to say, during the time that we left work in March, I mean, even for me, every day I have to remind myself that I need to savor it, but with being able to still say I have a job when some of my colleagues don't. And every day we are fortunate to be able to come to this role, even though it's something we've done for years and years and years. Mm-hmm. We could be without a job tomorrow. And so right now I think we can continue to say to ourselves, even as young professionals or even as professionals in this, we got to savor every day now, because it is very precious, and life comes at us fast and life comes at us different every day. But if we can savor what we got, I would say that's a big takeaway tonight for us. Okay, Armando, I think she was calling.
Well, I would say is, kind of to add what some others have said, is don't stress out. If you don't have that job or that, like they said, that dream job at the end of it, it's not the end of the world. There's plenty of opportunities out there. I went my senior year, or pretty much every year before that, I never did an internship. Didn't do that. My summers consisted of running the restaurant and managing it while my parents took a vacation to Mexico. So I would, work at the restaurant, let them do, have their vacation. And even till my senior year, before I started my career, I still did that because I wanted my parents to, be able to enjoy a nice vacation. So don't stress out. I mean, you don't have to do internships every year. I mean, like I said, my senior year, I went into the career fair, had 10 companies that I really wanted to work for, visited with each one, but along the way there's other companies that you might not have thought. I listened to them, kind of keep an open mind. And I've got my degree in finance, and I went into sales mainly because it's kind of out of my comfort zone, something that I'm not used to. Obviously I was working in a finance environment in college, so to me it's a stepping stone. And another thing is once you graduate, don't stop learning. And whether it's reading a book, whether it's talking to other people, you can learn something from anyone. So find those books, those podcasts, those people that you can learn something from, and just keep building and investing in yourself even after you've graduated.
Jimmy.
Yes. I would say the same, guys. I mean, you got to enjoy it as much as possible. You got to enjoy it while you're young, before, like we said, before you have responsibilities and have a lot of things to do, and people asking you to do it faster. But the biggest thing I would say, kind of like Armando said, is try to diversify yourself as much as possible. Try to learn new skills that maybe you don't think would apply to, if you're a finance major, maybe you're learning Photoshop, or maybe you're learning some creative stuff, or, if you are creative, maybe you're learning some accounting stuff or different things. Because another piece of advice one of my mentors told me is like, hey, diversify yourself as much as possible. Just have so many things that you bring to the table that they cannot turn you away, or they cannot afford to lose you. Be an incredible asset to wherever you're going. And by doing that, by diversifying yourself, having so many different things that you bring to the table, I mean, you just make yourself such a wonderful candidate and someone that anybody would love to have. So even if, for example, like I graduated with a sports management degree, so like a business administration type thing, but I learned the creative side. I learned, I know the accounting side. I know, the social media, all the different stuff. I just tried to, as soon as I was coming through the ranks, just try to learn as much as possible from as many different people as possible. Not only do you build those contacts, but you build that skill set too, that just kind of sets you apart, hopefully, from the rest of the field, and just can give you opportunities that you wouldn't think that you'd be interested in. And next thing you know, you're in something that completely opposite of what you thought it would be, but you're loving it and you're enjoying it. So
Thank you, Jessica.
I think that we kind of all agree, like, on that topic of just be okay with things not going as planned. You maybe had a plan, like after college or the last year, you were gonna get this internship, or you were gonna go in this field, or so many things were going to happen. You were going to take a year break and go and travel around Europe. Who knows? It's okay if things don't work out the way you thought, or if you don't feel the way you thought when you were a freshman. Change is fine. It's growth. You know, embrace that change. Be okay to, like everybody said, like diversify. You know, like look at other possibilities. You know, you have a set of skills, you have a degree. Well, maybe there's other things that you can do. Maybe through your journey, you discovered other things that you fell in love with that you can do. It's okay. It's okay to have doubts. It's okay. Be okay with yourself. Be okay to take a break. You know, so I would tell, you know, seniors that are having senioritis that it's okay to feel all those things. But like Anna said, stay the course. You know, it's okay to feel like that. Take a moment and then regroup with yourself and see, okay, what do I want to do next? And it's okay to change. So I just think it's all about growth and accepting what your journey is and just keep going, like onward and forward.
Great, thank you. Señor Elvis.
Well, that leads me into the question. One fun question for everybody to kind of get into the closing mode tonight, because I know we're going to be all hungry once we get done with this. But where is your favorite place to eat in Northwest Arkansas? Whether that is food, desserts, or Mexican food, or your go-to place when you are craving something. We've got everybody in the room. We probably are going to hear some new places. So Hazel's probably had some different varieties being in her position because she works with a lot of restaurants, but also she's in downtown. So Anna gets to eat a lot of food up in Bentonville. So Jessica, same thing. So, all right. So we want to see, or want to hear from you. Where is your favorite places to eat in Northwest Arkansas?
This isn't technically in Fayetteville or in downtown, so don't tell my colleagues this. But I love El Cuñado in Springdale, like just for when I like need some comfort food, you know, and just like food, like mom's cooking. I love that, and I love that place.
And say that name again.
El Cuñado.
I've got
Type it in the chat, please, Hazel. Put it in the chat.
Okay.
So for me, I've got two favorite places. I love sushi. So Sushi House up in Bentonville has become a staple for me, almost to the point that I need people to take me away from it. But I also love Taqueria Guanajuato in Springdale. So their tlacoyos, like you can find so many good things. And of course, there's also awesome pupuserias around the Rogers, Bentonville area. So there's lots to choose from.
Could you add that in the chat for us as well?
I can go next. With the cooler weather coming up, I would highly recommend just steaming hot bowl of pho at Pho Sun. There's one in Fayetteville and there's one in Bentonville. So you can be on either side. You can get an awesome bowl of food. I'm obsessed with pho, but they also have really good vermicelli bowls. They have really good crab rangoons. They have really good bubble tea. So highly recommend. It's delicious.
I would say my favorite place in Fayetteville, just all things considered, is the patio at Taste of Thai right up downtown. It just has the feel of, you know, you're in the city and you got the lights above and you're kind of in the alleyway on their little patio. The food's incredible. The people there are so friendly too, and it's just such good food. So if you're a Thai fan, Taste of Thai off the square is incredible and an awesome little vibe down there.
So know, I've been out of the Northwest Arkansas area for a while. I live in Fort Smith, but every time I go down, I always go to La Sirenita. You know, it's in Springdale, and it's probably got the best pupusas. They're giant. They're super cheap, and like 2 of them will fill you up, and it's great every time I go. Although I will say, you know, it kind of stabs me in the heart because like I buy so many now that like with my order they give me a glass Coke because that's like the thing. Like in the Latinx community, it's like Coke is just huge. So, I still love their food, so I go, but it is a slap in the face every time I get that glass Coke.
So on my end, like if we're talking about like Latin food, I love Havana Tropical Grill in Rogers. They just have such a variety of different food, and I think it's delicious. I love it. But oh my gosh, do you have enough time for me to tell you how many restaurants I love? I mean, definitely Sushi House for sure. I love a good steak at Ruth Chris. Yes, I love pasta fina in, I think it's in Cave Springs. It's delicious. They used to be Joe's in Springdale. I don't know if you guys ever went there. I used to go to Taqueria Michoacana in Springdale. I would always go there for lunch. It was the most delicious tacos ever. So casual, in and out. I actually went to La Sirenita as well. It's so delicious when I worked close to Springdale. I mean, I just love food. So, and I'm going to take a note of every single one of these recommendations, by the way. Just go and eat everywhere.
Elvis, do you want to ask Elisama Hernandez question to our panel before we forget?
Yes, I can do that real quick. The question that she had was about overcoming challenges. Is that what?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So how do you overcome challenges in your everyday career? What are some of the ways that you might try to overcome some challenges that you might have?
I can go first. For me, and I'm going to use the same my parents kind of taught me growing up, preguntando llegas a Roma, or asking questions, you can get to Rome. So for me, the way that I like to tackle a challenge is just start asking questions. There are, like I mentioned before, there are so many things that you may not know that others could, or there could be so many creative options that you may have. And as you ask those questions and kind of understand what's under the layers, you can find a solution that you maybe didn't even think of when the problem first arose. So that's my recommendation. That's how I do it. Just ask until you find a solution.
Yeah, I would agree with Gabi. Honestly, sometimes we think we need to know everything and we need to figure out ourselves to prove our worth, but that is not the case. Ask for help. Reach out to your peers, reach out to people that have been where you are the longest. Figure out like a partnership with them and work through these issues together. I don't think that we need to learn and figure out everything on our own. I think that that's one of the biggest misconceptions, that sometimes you spend hours trying to figure a solution for something where you could have just asked a question, like Gabi said, to someone else and figure it out in 5 minutes. Understand that everybody is there to support you and you support them. So it's a team effort. Reach out, ask questions. That would be the easiest way to overcome any obstacles. Just find that partnership in the people that are around you.
I would add, when facing challenges, I tend to defer back to my optimistic self. And on one end is remind myself, okay, this is a major challenge, but you can do it, right? So building that confidence over competence, as Gabi had mentioned. And, if you are shy and you don't feel like it's okay to reach out to a coworker and ask questions, I would go to the library and grab a book for whether it be marketing strategy. So look for resources. If you want to problem solve it yourself first, try that, and then reach out to folks as you have more information. But that's been tremendously helpful for me. One is to remind myself I can handle this, and two is to figure out ways, well, how can I go about this? Whether I choose to consult someone or I go in my own independent way.
Now that reminds me of a saying that my dad always says is everything has a solution except for death, or todo tiene solución menos la muerte. So I love that you kind of take that optimism.
Yeah, I'll kind of go off that too. I think asking questions is huge, but even farther than that, I think just confiding in your coworkers and your peers and just say, hey, I'm stressing out about this. Can we talk about it? And most of the time, what I've found is they're like, hey, I'm glad you brought this up because this, or hey, I've been experiencing something similar. Let's talk about how we can work through it together. So I think there's a lot of value in asking those questions. And at the end of the day too, just kind of finding purpose in what you're doing. Because when you do that, then you can say, okay, like take a step back, take a deep breath, pray about it, and then realize that, hey, there's a bigger purpose in what I'm doing. And this little thing doesn't contribute in the long run, or, hey, I'm making a big deal of something small. I can reevaluate it, take a deep breath, and like I said, just kind of attack it a different way, or maybe find a different solution, or even just diffuse it a little bit to make it not as big of a deal. So I think, like I said, just taking a step back, praying about it, and finding the purpose in what you're actually doing or the problem you're facing can be something that's really helpful as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree that, utilizing those resources around you, whether that's, a book you've read or, friends, family, peers, Google, YouTube. I mean, we live in an era now where you can pull information, out of anywhere in a matter of seconds. So, utilizing those resources that you have around you definitely helps. And, kind of another thing is, don't be afraid to make a decision, what Jimmy has said. Sometimes you think it's a lot bigger than it really is, and making that choice, it might not be the absolute best choice, but it was the best choice at that time. So don't be afraid to make a choice and get past that, because you can always learn from it, and it's not like it's going to be the end of the world. I feel like there's always something that you can learn from any sort of failure or any sort of choices that you make. So use your resources and just keep moving forward.
Speaking of resources, I want to go ahead and say thank you to everyone and all of our panelists for joining us. Now, this was a great conversation, and I myself took a lot of notes. I have a takeaway. I know our students. Thank you all for your time, for giving back to your community in this way. It really does make an impact to everybody. And going back to speaking of resources, Adrian, could you tell us a little bit about what the Diversity or Multicultural Center can provide to our students that are on right now?
Absolutely. So the Multicultural Center is still open. Our hours are from 8:30 to 5. We're located in the Arkansas Union, where you got your ID made at, on the 4th floor. What we simply say, meet me at the MC. It's the place to be, a place to belong, to become, and to be you. And that's really the critical heart of the work that we're engaged in, is the sense of belonging, that you are indeed enough, that you're here on purpose, for a purpose, and with the purpose. And we want to partner with you to ensure your success in that. We understand that representation matters. In the office, Latina, Mirna, who couldn't be on tonight because of class, is a graduate assistant who is serving in that capacity. So she is generally there twice a week, but she's always available in a virtual setting. And so definitely, if you're looking to meet or connect with her, I'll drop my email in the chat and make sure that I make a formal introduction around that. And so as we think about the becoming, we're still in COVID, but we're still trying to provide as much virtual support as we can around some programmatic things in terms of opportunities that are there, whether it's a Loteria, study break, the Latinx Welcome, which we just had. Again, this Latinx panel that discussion that we're having tonight. We are indeed thinking about what are other opportunities for us to serve and support. I have a social work intern. Her name is Arlene. She is working on building a model for a peer mentorship program. So that's her major project for this fall that we hope to pilot and launch potentially in the spring. And to be you, and the ultimate part of being you is really finding who you are, finding your purpose, finding your passion, having the opportunity to have your Latinx identity not only affirmed and valued, but also for you to have the exploration in that and what that really means for you and how do you express that and navigate the world in that, in the fullness of who you are and authentically as you are. And so we're always trying to engage in conversations in that and providing opportunities for conversations and dialogues and awareness around that. You know, obviously I'm not, but that is something that I am committed to. And I don't mind asking questions, and I don't mind saying I don't know, or that's not necessarily my place. And so recognizing how I'm taking up space and how I'm engaging in space. And so luckily I have great friends and colleagues like Cecilia and Elvis. I met some new friends tonight. Armando is a past student and one I love dearly, so an opportunity to reconnect with him. To Anna, who was the first person that I reached out when I knew that this panel was going to be that, you know, Jimmy, I'm going to buy me a cutout. So just know that that's coming and that's happening. So the center is just a place for you to build community and to build network. And so again, that's my job, is to help facilitate that and then get you connected and plugged into the various individuals and programs and initiatives which provide opportunities for you to engage in that in whatever way that you see or need. You know, I want to definitely, again, myself and the staff at the center to partner with you to achieve your desired goals and outcomes.
Adrian, I know as far as the committee or the panelist goes, but I can speak for myself that if there's an opportunity for us to do this again in the spring semester, I would love to be a part of it and continue to help give back to those that were in similar positions as I was back in 1998. So I want to be able to give back as well. So happy to help in any way possible in my time.
Absolutely. And I just want to say, even while that is more people on here to hold me accountable to that, I already want to do a part 2. I'm not necessarily sure what that will look like and be. I just love the energy and I love the synergy of each of you. And I see why you were nominated and recommended for this. And there's so much for you to impart in our students. And I know that they're not here, but the ones who are here, I want to thank you for being here. This is being recorded. We'll definitely post it on the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion website as a tool and as a resource for availability for that to happen. And so I've already been talking with Ms. Angela Muntz, and I'll definitely give her a chance to chime in as well about potentially what that part 2 could look like. I've reached out to Cecilia as well. So I'm not formally asking you right now, but just know if you receive an email from me from a part 2 from the panelists in some shape, form, or fashion, I'm committed to that because, again, the knowledge that you have imparted, the energy that is in here, and your commitment, your passion for the work and for just the Latinx community is phenomenal and definitely was put on full display of the why you came so highly recommended. So, Ms. Angela, I'll definitely let you chime in around that as well.
Thank you, Adrian, and also thank you to the panel and to Cecilia and Elvis as well. I do want to recognize Sam Silva Nash. She won an exciting award. She is also one of the Latino Alumni Society scholars. And so Cecilia can speak a little bit more about that. And I will make sure I will be very brief. But I too want to say thank you so much for this amazing and wonderful opportunity. For those of you who do not know me, I'm the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the university. And Adrian and I and Cecilia work very closely together. I did want to just tell you about a couple of upcoming exciting events that Cecilia wanted me to mention. The Alumni Association is putting together a series of town hall meetings, and it's about a conversation on race. And so Cecilia will be one of the guest speakers on Tuesday, October the 27th. And it's the Alumni and Employee Impact Groups. So I am also over our Employee Impact Group. We just restarted or revamped our Latinx Employee Impact Group. And many of you that are out in the field, we did send information letting you know the different events that we have planned for National Hispanic Heritage Month. And to the students that are on the call, we need your help. If you could please send your information to Cecilia. We're looking at putting together a paper on inclusive communities and spaces. And we want to know your opinion on what we need to do in order to help you feel like you belong and you're welcome on the University of Arkansas campus. So again, we're looking for 8 to 12 students. So if you could please send that information to Cecilia, we would greatly appreciate it. And to the panelists, again, thank you. Anna is on our Latino Alumni Society board, and she continues to always do such an excellent job, as well as all of you. So if there is anything that we can do, let us know. And yes, Cecilia, Adrian, and I are planning on a part 2. And Elvis, we're looking at it to happen soon. So stay tuned and you will be on that panel. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Miss Angela, that was awesome. So briefly, I'm gonna kind of brag about Sam. Sam graduated last May. It was super sad because we couldn't have our Meritos Latinos to celebrate her achievements. She was the last Latino Alumni Society Association president, and he wrote an amazing thesis, and she was honored, and she won an award with the Honor Supply Chain and she was awarded the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals Award. And this was amazing because I didn't know until she mentioned that her thesis was awarded. And I hope she can speak a little bit about what she did during the last semester about her thesis. Sam, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I should have known you were going to do this. I should have known. My thesis was pretty much, I'm a supply chain major, so it's about transportation and the transportation insecurity that we hear at NWA and how it stops us from having other resources such as education. It also can result in food insecurity, access to medical attention, pretty much how Hispanics especially are being impacted by the lack of transportation or public transportation and how it's affecting us in more than one way. So pretty much, again, I am in the supply chain field. It was how can we use our knowledge for supply chain instead of just pretty much using it for, you know, big corporations. How can we use it for our everyday lives, for our peers, for our parents, for our teachers, for everybody that we deal with on an everyday basis? How can we use that knowledge in a more practical sense that can help the everyday person? So yeah, thank you, Cecilia.
Thank you, you're awesome. Go ahead, Elvis.
Well, in closing, I just want to say happy Hispanic Heritage Month and thank you all for dropping those big nuggets tonight on us and all the great knowledge. It's really exciting and I really enjoyed being the person to get to moderate on this. I thought a funny story was when Adrian reached out to me and said, hey, we're doing this young professionals panel and I wanted to reach out to you. And I was so excited. And then he said, well, we want you to moderate. And then I forgot I just turned 40, so I'm not in the young professionals anymore. So I'm now moved over to the other side. But with that, I'm glad to get to be a part of this, and looking at all of your faces, it feels good to see people who look like me as well. So I'm glad we're all here, and thank you so much for your support and giving back to our community as well. I'll give everybody a final closing statement. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with Jessica. We'll give you a closing statement for our students that are still on.
I'll unmute. That's probably a good idea if I unmute. So I would say, just to finish, I just want everybody to think about, like, understand your worth, understand that your cultural background makes you an asset to any organization. Your voice is important. Be inclusive. I think that is very important. If there's one thing that we should all remember, is that part, like, you know, again, being different, having a different cultural background is what makes us an asset. It's what brings our value as well. Everybody wants to hear what we have to say, especially now. Everybody wants to hear our voice, our opinion. Use that seat at the table. Use your voice, is what I would say.
All right, let's keep it going, Gabi.
Okay.
We'll let you. Go ahead. No, Gabi, we'll toss it to Hazel right now, and then Hazel, we'll toss it to Gabi.
Similar to what Jessica said, don't underestimate your power and your worth. I know that sometimes it's challenging trying to find your place, but you are the product of a hard-fought journey of people that came before you. So you have use your talents and your skills, and never underestimate your worth.
Hi, team. Mine would be, and I'm going to use another Spanish phrase from my parents, but no tengas pena. Like, as you go through your college career, as you go through life, as you go through your professional career, no tengas pena. There are, I feel, a lot of things that we don't do, or we prevent ourselves from accomplishing because we feel that we can't. So I'll kind of leave you guys with the saying of, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And go do it.
Jimmy's next to my screen.
Perfect. Yeah, I would say just stay true to yourself, and just embrace who you are, where you come from, and just not only are you doing it for yourself, you're doing it for your family and all those that believe in you. Just continue to embrace your heritage, our heritage, and just continue just working hard. That's what we know how to do, and that's what we're gonna always do. And just stay true to yourself, and just keep pushing.
Armando.
So for me, I would say that, don't forget that the world that we live in, the society we live in, it was built by ordinary people just like us. It doesn't take, a genius to, you don't have to be a genius to make a change. It's ordinary people who built this world with extraordinary ideas. So, think big, and don't let anyone decide what you can and what you can't do. The impossible is only impossible until it's possible, is a saying, I believe. So, don't limit yourself to what society thinks you can do. Only you can determine what you can do. And like I said, I heard it said earlier, shoot for the stars. If you land on the moon, that's great. So don't be afraid to stand out, think big, definitely know your worth, and keep learning, keep on going, because your life is a journey, and there's times where it might not be going exactly how you wanted to, but you got to embrace that change, and just make a choice. You can change your whole life with one simple choice, so embrace change, and don't ever limit yourself.
Anna.
I would say, first and foremost, embrace your Latinidad. And I think it echoes what other panelists have said tonight. by embracing who you are and speaking up in a room, you are already changing the dynamic. And even more so, speak up when you're in a place and you don't have an echo chamber to support you. By being your authentic self, you're doing exactly what you need to do. And secondly, I would say perfection is the enemy of progress. Don't let the perfection get in the way of you being able to move forward. And lastly, what comes to mind is what my parents have told me is, mija, adelante, si se puede.
All right, that was a great way to end tonight. We want to thank everybody for being a part of this, and I hope you have a great rest of the, well, welcome to Friday tomorrow. Great rest of the weekend ahead as well. And thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to continuing the conversation soon. So